Welcome to The Direct Line, the official podcast for OADSP. We're excited to have you here with us today, and if you have comments, suggestions, or if you want to join us in studio as a guest, reach out to me at podcast@oadsp.org.
First, what are some of the challenges the organization you work for can share with us? What are the big ones?
Yeah, I think one of the challenges for us, and from an employment perspective, is to really work on educating employers on the benefits of hiring individuals with disabilities, because there are so many. I think employers hear this term accommodations, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to do this, and it's going to cost thousands of dollars to do that. But a lot of times it's something really, really simple that just might assist, an individual in doing a particular job or things of that nature. So I think one of the things that we're really trying to do, and we have a community employment, I'm trying to think of their title, employment development director, who really works on engaging employers, engaging different organizations that do the same thing in a community employment perspective on how do we get this point across? How do we educate employers on the benefits of hiring individuals with disabilities? And I think one of the great things is that I think the strongest voice are those employers where it's working.
Sure.
And those employers talk to other employers and say, hey, look, we hired XYZ individual and they are a star employee. And what they do a lot of times is they change the culture of an employment environment. And, because all employers want to be diverse, right? They want to have a diverse workforce. And I think by taking these steps and taking these actions to try to let employers know, hey, there's some great benefits in hiring individuals with disabilities, I think it really speaks volumes into their willingness to do that. So, but it's still a challenge because I think employers sometimes have these perceptions that individuals with disabilities can't learn the job and they can't function as well as someone that may not have a disability. But I think, we've seen that that's not the case. Right. We've seen that the individuals with disabilities can work in settings that 20 years ago we would have never thought that could happen. Sure. So we're making strides, but it's still a challenge in educating employees and employers and trying to get them past those stigmas of individuals that have disabilities related to employment.
We all have developmental differences. Everyone in this room, everyone that we serve, we all have different experiences, and so we bring in our piece to the workforce. If you're talking to, a store or a company or a factory, what are some things that you say to them that kind of calm the waters a little bit?
Yeah, I think what we try to do is take their questions head on. I mean, a lot of their concerns are pretty easily addressable. Like I mentioned, accommodations are something that just scare the heck out of employers. Right. But I think what we really try to do is focus on those success stories. And when employers are talking to other employers, it's huge in trying to break down those barriers as far as those concerns that an employer might have. And I think we have an individual who actually goes out to speak to employers. Hey, look, tell us what makes you nervous, what makes you concerned, and we're going to address all those concerns that you have. And I think, like I mentioned earlier, culture is huge.
Sure.
And we've seen it. It happens where the culture of a manufacturing setting that probably would never have considered hiring an individual with disability, once that person's in that workforce, it just changes the way they work, they act, they interact, and it has that great snowball effect across the employer. It's cool to see.
Yeah, I actually went into a restaurant that was everybody had a disability of some sort. I'm going to rephrase that. Everybody had a difference, and the workforce was fantastic. I mean, it was a lot of fun to be in there and to see folks from the community supporting folks that are getting services. What do you think the big fear is? Is it just not knowing?
Yeah, I think that's it. It's the fear of the unknown, which is probably our biggest fear, right? For anyone, it's their fear of, oh my gosh, what's going to happen if? Yeah. What's going to happen if this person, has an emotional issue? Sure. What's going to happen if this person has trouble communicating?
Because nobody without a disability has those issues. Right, exactly.
So, but I mean, that you're right. It's the unknown that I think really causes the biggest concern for employers. But I think we're really trying to address those issues head on in Lake County, and we've got a great. I think we're moving in the right direction in all these entities and these organizations that we're forming, and these groups that we're forming. I think are moving to address those concerns.
And also, if an employer has a repetitive job, you just have to do the same thing all day long, all week long, all month long, people with autism will outperform
absolutely
anybody else, I think.
No, it's incredible to see that. You're right. I mean, and we see it every day. And what ultimately we want to express to employers, we want to help you with your bottom line, right? We don't want these individuals to be hired as, oh, well, they're an individual with disabilities. Yeah. We're going to hire them.
This isn't a tax break.
Right. We want them to be productive members of that organization, and it's happening. It really, really is.
Mary, you want to pipe in?
Well, it just, as you were talking, it kind of reminded me of a story or a conversation I had with my daughters recently. And she had said, Mom, that's one of the things that I love about watching you do the work you love. You're not afraid to take any of the individuals anywhere. I've always, and I feel like this is another key part of being a direct support specialist, is just that, you have to sometimes, like I had said earlier, go outside your comfort zone. I was taking an individual to a barber shop, and I was taking another individual to the hair salon. Why should they not have the same? But they could be loud, and and I kind of over time broke down some barriers, and probably on our third visit, one of the female individuals I had brought, the woman said, she's got the most beautiful smile. She gets a free haircut today. Aww. At first when I came in, the first response was, oh, we're kind of busy today. And I could tell, I said, oh, we've got time, we'll wait. And you just got to kind of do those things, Over time, they will see the beauty. And so that just kind of.
Why do you think people give that as a first reaction sometimes?
Fear.
Fear of the unknown?
Fear of the unknown. Right. Absolutely. The way she was expressing herself, is that going to scare off other customers? These kind of things. And when she let her guard down, she was able to see what I see and what so many of us see.
Right. And compassion and professionalism goes a long way.
Absolutely.
Pipe in.
Well, from the Service and Support Administration perspective, one of the biggest challenges we have is really the staffing crisis. The DSPs are the lifeline for the care that goes on. Yeah. And the majority of the focus of what Service and Support Administrators do is make sure that the DSPs working in individuals' homes have the right tools, have the right mechanism, have the right trainings to be able to provide the necessary support. And the staffing crisis is really helping our providers overcome that, has really been our goal over the last couple years.
We'll be right back. This episode of The Direct Line is brought to you by Leadership Launchpad, OADSP's flagship leadership development program. We all know that a leader is not defined by title alone. It's more than a position, and it's needed at all levels of an organization. Each Leadership Launchpad retreat is its own universe, separate from the outside world, so participants are empowered to concentrate on personal development, exercise networking skills, and re-enter the day-to-day with a clearer sense of their leadership identities. Visit the upcoming events listing at oadsp.org for dates and registration and scholarship information. And now back to the show.
And how do you work through all that?
Well, it's really education. We've been getting kind of creative with the county board has been really supportive of our providers. We have over 100 agency providers. We've done a lot to help them with overtime bonuses, just to keep staff retention bonuses, things we can do financially to help providers stay afloat, and start to really find quality employees that can do the things that Mary does and really enjoy being out in the community with our individuals that we serve. And I think that's been the greatest challenge, is overcoming the staffing crisis.
Yeah. I think it's important to note that in the past, our folks were kind of hidden away. And so it's remarkable that in the last 20 years, our folks are being out in the community. They're going to restaurants. They're doing their own grocery shopping. They're helping or working in stores. That visibility, I think, breaks down a lot of barriers. Am I right on that? Wrong? What do you folks think?
You're absolutely correct. And, between the exposure to the community, getting out, educating people on the similarities that we all have, not necessarily the differences, it really makes it a success for the individuals, the DSPs that are involved, the agencies, just everybody wins with that.
Right. So we talked about the challenges. So what's the opposite of challenges? What are some of the success stories that somebody would talk about? Don't be shy.
Well, we recently, and it was kind of an odd story, we recently have a young man that just purchased a car and had the car totally modified for him so that he could drive wherever he wants to go, be as independent as possible. It was one of the coolest days I've ever had. It started when he asked if we could support him and modify this vehicle. And I, kind of being kind of funny, I was like, I'm sure somebody else has done that. So we called the state to say, how can I get help? And they were like, actually, we haven't. This is the second time we've ever done this.
Really?
So we had this collaboration with the state. We worked with an agency that was able to pretty much gut the car, put in all the equipment so he could pull his wheelchair up through the back. It would lock in. It would drive him to the front seat where he could then be the driver, engage him with all the mechanisms of a car. And it's scary for me as the dad of a 16-year-old that's just learning to drive. And I'm thinking, here's this guy with this equipment now that can manipulate his wheelchair right into the car and able to go anywhere. And he pulled into the office the other day and all the SSAs were standing out back. And he had the biggest smile on his face, just watch him drive up the block and see how excited. And now he's out there. He's able to do everything you and I can do and go anywhere he wants without restriction.
Is he a good driver?
He's an awesome driver.
A better driver than your 16-year-old?
I'm sure of that.
Do you have something to pipe in?
So, with all the different ability levels and success stories, that's such a wonderful story, Michael. And it's so great to see how some of those really true adaptations we recently toured they have an adapted living apartment over here attached to the building. So there's so many wonderful advances. My story of success is more on an individual who has a lower ability, but nonetheless a celebration of a wonderful thing for this young man. I was working at the school at Broadmoor School, and this individual had never had the opportunity they had never toilet trained him, essentially, and he was like 17 years old. So I was just helping clean him up one day, and I thought, you know what, why not?
Sure.
And I am happy to say that he is now in his mid-30s, and from that day forward, it started a new thing, and he had a really great success rate. So just another reminder for people, like you take for granted, why not? It's something that all of us do, and it turned out to be a really great thing for this young man and his parents. They're very thankful as well.
Of course. They're probably very proud.
And very proud.
So, like I mentioned earlier, we, my wife and I host this radio show every Tuesday evening, and one of the things we do focus on veterans, but we also every so often try to focus on organizations that are doing good things in our community.
Sure.
And since I work for the Lake County Board of DD,
You do?
I do. I do, absolutely. Every March, what we like to do is we kind of like to highlight Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month by either having a representative from our agency on our show. We've had families on our show represented. The last person that we had on our show was actually an individual that received services through the county board. And this gentleman is in our community employment program, and he's got a personality as high as the ceiling. I mean, one of the coolest guys you'll ever want to meet. So we had asked him to appear on our show as our guest to kind of talk about what he does and how important his family is to him, how important his direct service professional is to him, and how important those job coaches are to him that provide those services to him every day. And, you know, as we're kind of learning, or before we came on today, it can be kind of an intimidating situation. Now it's fine, right? Everyone's pretty calm. But, I mean, you put the headphones on, you go behind a microphone, and it's kind of a different environment.
Sure.
And someone's asking you personal questions about yourself. And sometimes, you know, you have the tendency to give those one-word answers, and you try to, okay, can you elaborate on it a little bit? Yeah. But it was really, really cool to see this young man just kind of grow in that half an hour that we had that conversation with him. And he was so proud of his family, which I thought was pretty cool. His mom, who is, you know, obviously the most important person in his life.
Sure.
And so it got to the end of the conversation, and we're about ready to close the show out. And then he asked us, well, can I ask you questions? I'm like, well, sure, you know, if you want to. And so he asked us some really good questions. And he told us something at the end of the interview that I had never heard before. So we asked him kind of the question, what do you want to do when you grow up, right? That question that we all get. And his answer was he wanted to train dolphins, which I thought was like the coolest answer I've ever seen. And I'm like, well, why? And he goes, he just thought that, you know, he has this kind of connection towards that. But he was able to kind of really open up in that short time frame about things that are important in his life and things that he's proud of in his life. And it was nice to kind of see that little, in that half an hour's time, a real like kind of transformation as far as this young man is concerned. So it was one of the best interviews we've ever done.
And that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm afraid of dolphins, I think.
Really?
I don't know.
Okay. Right. They're not sharks. I mean, they're not going to bite your hands off, but that's all right. If you're afraid,
but they can headbutt you.
I guess they could. Yeah, I guess they could.
And I'm not very big, so a dolphin would probably knock me over. So, Ann, talk to us about one of the success stories, because you're looking across the whole organization and you see a lot. So give us a success story, either with a DSP or an individual that kind of like sits well with you.
Right. So what I was thinking of when they were telling their stories was something that we started actually right before COVID was kind of a live your best life day. Okay, for an individual. And we had one, and then we just started it back up again now that it's free from COVID. So we've had two, and the first guy I said he always wanted to be a bartender.
Okay.
That was one thing he always wanted to do. And so we had
there's good money in that.
There's good money in that, and he would make a lot of money.
Sure.
Let me tell you. He's a character. So we were able to get a local bar, one that actually the Community Employment Program cleans for. So we have a real good relationship with them.
Okay.
They opened it up on a Sunday afternoon, and he was able to be a bartender for like 2-3 hours, and that place was packed. And I mean, DSPs, county board staff, local government official, like everybody was there. It was absolutely amazing. And then we just had this past March, we had an individual who lives in the adult residential facility of the ICF. He wanted to be a DJ. He loves music, wanted to be a DJ. So another local bar that we are affiliated with, over in Mentor, opened up their facility, and he was a DJ for a few hours. And again, it was absolutely packed. And both of these guys just were on top of the world, living their literally best life for the day, let me tell you. And it really was a community event where providers came and they brought, their friends from different places around Lake County to come and dance and, have fun. So I feel like lots of times those are a lot of success stories for the individuals. And then other individuals can see that. And, their dreams can come true, too. We can help them with that. So that was something really cool, I think, that started that I think has a lot of positive vibes that just go out from it in so many different ways.
I kind of think maybe the board should open up a nightclub.
I think we do well.